Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for another Outer Limits review. Today, I will be talking about Season 1, Episode 13, Tourist Attraction, directed by Laslo Benedek, and starring Janet Blair, Ralph Meeker, and Henry Silva. And I have to say, of all the Outer Limits episodes I've seen so far, Tourist Attraction is by far my least favorite. I just didn't think this episode was very good, unfortunately. I like the message behind the episode. I don't think the execution of it is very good. It's a little heavy handed and very obvious. The episode is very predictable. And by the end, I was just waiting for it to end, honestly. So we start with our main character, John Dexter, and he's exploring the sea and he finds some kind of sea creature on a monitor. So naturally, he's curious about this. So he goes in the water to find out more, which leaves us to find out more about some other characters. A woman named Lynn, who's Dexter's secretary, but I'm not really sure at this point whether there's more to their relationship or not. It seems like Lynn would want more. We're also introduced to Tom, who's an assistant that works for Dexter at this point. So Dexter comes back up from the water, not finding anything, even though we do see a few shots of the creature, which doesn't look very good. The creature effects, being as dated as they are, certainly doesn't help this episode. So at this point, we learn through Dexter and another man, through some exposition, that there's another man named General Mercurio who basically runs the town. And it doesn't seem like Dexter's necessarily too fond of this guy at this point. Then we get a scene with Lynn and Dexter, and there's some tension between them. Thought the scene was okay. It shows where their relationship stands. Then we finally meet this General Mercurio at some kind of gathering. And when Dexter walks in, you could tell Mercurio's not too impressed. Doesn't seem like he likes what he's wearing or too much about the guy. So they chat, and the general explains some of his accomplishments in the city where they're at. Dexter doesn't seem to care too much or be too impressed by this guy. The general wants Dexter to put in a good word for him, say some nice things about him when he gets back home. To the United States, I'm guessing, but Dexter pretty much says no. He won't go along with it. So when the general leaves, Dexter also sees a model of the sea creature, which makes him more curious about what's going on. So at this point, Dexter and Tom go back in the water to try and find the creature. And I have to say, one thing that was pretty solid about this episode, the underwater scenes look pretty good, especially for 1960s TV. I thought they worked pretty well. Eventually, though, they run into the sea creature, which, like I said, doesn't look very good. It looks very fake. It leads to a fight. And basically, surprisingly, Dexter wins and captures the creature. We also see at this point that there's definitely more than one creature, as we're shown another one in the water. So at this point, we get a little bit more information on the creature from a professor. We get some history behind it, which was okay. It gives a little backstory, although it's not that important to the plot. So at this point, the general comes in and he wants to take a look at the creature. He's got some interest. He feels like the creature could bring him some attention that he needs. Of course, Dexter also wants to take the creature back with him so he can get the credit for the discovery. So now both men are kind of interested in this, but this never really leads to too much in the plot. I thought this could have been handled better. So at this point, the creature escapes, of course, when the man that's watching him or guarding him doesn't do a very good job, I have to say. So at this point, it's also notable that the creature doesn't kill, though. It could have started killing, but it doesn't attack. It just wants to escape. So they recapture the creature with some nets in a disturbing scene. I have to say, I felt bad for the creature at this point, which is what I think the episode is going for. So at this point, Dexter, Tom, and some others are around, and they're learning that the creature is trying to show some kind of communication, maybe to communicate with other creatures of the same type. Also, at this point, Dexter decides to fire Tom. He doesn't like the way Tom's been handling the situation. This makes Lynn unhappy. She and Dexter have a talk. She basically calls Dexter a machine. He's not giving back the love that she's giving to him, basically, and she walks away. This scene wasn't built up enough. We haven't gotten enough scenes between the characters for this to work. In my opinion, this felt very overdramatic to me. The acting's fine, but I didn't think the way the scene was written that it was really very effective, and I'm not sure we needed a love story subplot in this episode anyway. So we go back to Tom, Dexter, and the professor, and it turns out the creature is communicating with other creatures. Of course, at this point, Dexter wants to take the creature back. The general comes in, of course, at this point, wants the creature for himself. So there's basically a fight over the rights to the creature at this point, which Dexter wins. And we never see the general again. So again, I'm not sure why they really dropped this part of the plot, but I guess it's fine. So at this point, Tom and Lynn are trying to convince Dexter to let the creature go. He won't. So this very predictably leads to more creatures coming out of the water to save one of their own. At this point, I just wanted the episode to end. This was all very obvious and predictable. So at this point, they finally do let the creature go. He goes back, I guess, with the others. Somehow all this causes like the dam to break and a flood to ruin the city. I wasn't sure exactly how this happened, but I guess it's fine. So at this point, we see some of the effects of what this has caused, but it seems like Dexter is somewhat of a changed man, and it seems like him and Lynn are at least back on track. So overall, tourist attraction doesn't lead to very much. Like I said, the creatures themselves aren't very interesting. The design behind them isn't very good either, in my opinion. I know this was the 1960s, but the effects just don't hold up very well today at all. The love story subplot didn't really work for me, and even the main plot between Dexter and the General doesn't ultimately really resolve itself in a satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. So overall, Tourist Attraction is just kind of a slow, predictable episode, and I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 5. There are a few good scenes here and there, but overall, I do not recommend this episode unless you're looking to watch every single Outer Limits episode for completionist's sake. So 1.5 out of 5 for Tourist Attraction, and as always, thank you very much for watching.